Major funding for these broadcasts has been provided by grants from New York Community Bank, AmTrust Title Insurance Company, Perfect Building Maintenance, M&T Bank, Customers Bank, Marks Paneth LLP, Capital One Bank, Collins Building Services, Meridian Capital Group. Additional support has been provided by grants from AKA Hotel Residences Corman Communities, Ariel Property Advisors, Amerant Bank, Bank of America Merrill Lynch, Briarwood Organization, Chase Commercial Mortgage Lending, Chase Commercial Term Lending, Citizens Bank, Dime Community Bank, Douglaston Development Levine Builders, Flushing Bank, Friedman LLP, Handro Properties LLC, Handler Real Estate Organization, Hodges Ward Elliott INC, Investors Bank, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Institute at Syracuse University, John Casamatides Red Apple Group, Keysight Capital Partners, Matone Group, New Banks, Newmark Knight Frank, Ocean First Bank, Optimum Window Manufacturing Corp., People's United Bank, Rockefeller Group, Rosewood Realty Services, Stonehenge NYC, SVN CPEX Real Estate Services, Tierra CRG, the Meringer Family Foundation, and these friends. Fourth generation in business, possibly a fifth generation. There aren't too many families like that. But today I have the co-presidents and co-CEOs of Kalmon Dolgin on my show. I have the older brother, I'm sorry I have to mention, Kalmon, okay? And his younger brother, 8 years, 9 months difference, right? Neil.
Close enough.
Close enough.
Okay, so let's go back from Russia, the beginning. Because right now the company is celebrating its 116th year, starting out in 1904, okay? But tell me about the family, how they came. Either one.
Our grandfather came over in just before 1904.
Came over where? Did he come to Bushwick, Williamsburg?
Yeah.
Yes.
To Brooklyn.
Bushwick.
Yeah.
And what skills did he have, or did he come over with any relatives?
He had
a brother who was here already,
yeah,
but not in the same area. He was more in Connecticut.
Right.
We've never met him. We never knew him. My grandfather was situated in Bushwick, and the countryside was Maspeth.
He's an entrepreneur and figured that everyone has to eat, and he opened up a small grocery store, which was right across the street, diagonally across the street from where he had his first office in real estate, and he got into that by a beat cop on the street would come to him and became friendly with him and said, you know, Kalmon, if you ever have, if you know of hear of anything, I have a relative or a friend of mine looking to open up a knitting place over here. Let me know if you can find, if you hear of anything. So my grandfather, apparently putting two and two together, said, this is not bad. So he'd go out and find a place.
So he felt it was better than selling a bottle of milk or butter over there in the grocery store, because we have a picture of the grocery store of your grandfather and your father.
Correct.
True.
One of them sweeping in front of the store.
That's correct.
Well, everything was being built up in Bushwick at the time, so everything was new construction. So as the buildings went up, he was the first one.
So what's the story about it? Because it's interesting about the beat cop.
As we are told the story, in fact, don't we still have the baton with the piece of lead in it?
Right,
Yeah.
we had these sticks.
Yeah, that it was an accidental introduction, and
at that
my
time,
grandfather built it from there.
You really didn't have to have licensing, right?
No,
Correct.
that's
That's correct.
So there wasn't a licensing. So
No.
he was an entrepreneur in the supermarket, and he saw some opportunities in the brokerage business of finding places for different businesses.
Not quite a supermarket, I would think.
No,
More,
I mean,
more
it was a grocery
a little
It was
corner
18
grocery store.
feet by maybe 20 feet.
Yeah,
deep
and
for the
in
grocery
which
store.
they also lived.
In
And,
1840,
and
the
they
back
had their
section.
bathroom out in the back, and that was it.
So at least it was live and work in the same.
Correct.
Oh, that's for sure.
Correct.
Okay, so tell me about your father. When was your father born?
1913.
Okay, so your father was born in 1913. He grows up behind the store in Bushwick.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. Does he go to college? Does he?
No.
No.
He and my uncle, his brother, who was almost 9 years older than him, both went into the business as soon as, actually during high school and as soon as they
And
graduated
at that time,
high
the
school.
business was twofold. It was the store and the brokerage business.
Yes.
My father did a lot of deliveries for the little grocery store
Yeah.
in the neighborhood. He would deliver to the surrounding apartments and houses, and before he went into the real estate business.
Yeah.
So when does he decide to leave the grocery business and to go into the real estate business full time?
Right at graduation, pretty
Yeah.
much, when he graduated high school.
Yeah.
Okay,
They were.
so he was born in 1913, so this would be the heart of the Depression, 1931.
Yes.
Correct.
As far as we know, my grandmother really was starting to run the grocery store. Kalmon, my grandfather, was acting more in the real estate business, and my grandmother was a hell of an entrepreneur.
Correct.
she
He's a tough,
she was a
tough
good
cookie.
a good marketer.
Now, that was your grandmother, but you had your grandfather and your father were in business, but your father also had a brother, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, who went into business together also.
Yes.
Prior to my father walking in.
Yeah.
So he was older,
Correct.
Yes.
about 9 years,
Correct.
similar to the age of the two of you.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so
I think that's where the similarities end.
Correct.
so at that time, were they in brokerage, or was that when did they buy their first property?
Late 40s.
Yeah.
Late 40s.
Mid-40s. Yeah.
So the majority of the business at the beginning was the industrial brokerage, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
How from a retail store they got involved with industrial?
It was in the area.
That's what was being built, all surrounding them. All the streets surrounding, other than Flushing Avenue, was all being built as industrial buildings.
So what's the story of how they bought their first building? How they?
Good question. I don't know. You might know.
From what I remember, they agonized over, they saw an opportunity to buy, and I had the list. I think I had shown it to you. I have to give it back. On the back of an envelope.
Right, that's how they decided with the notes.
Yeah, with the
What they
little
can
note.
make, what they can
400
afford.
windows had to be done. This is what it would cost them. And that's how they put down everything they had and took the enormous risk at that time, because they were just building up the ability to have a little bit of comfort. And this was their start.
Fast forward, okay? The next generation starts getting involved. You're born in 1945, I think?
Three.
Well, 43. Okay. The family is living where? In Great Neck at this time?
I was born on 777 St. Mark's Avenue in Brooklyn, and we moved to Great Neck when I was 5 years old.
And you?
I was born in 1951 and born in Great Neck.
Okay. You were the oldest of the four in the family.
Correct.
So you're first. Your late brother is number two.
No,
No.
no,
Sister.
my sister.
Sister is number two.
Right.
Okay. Number three
My brother.
is your brother, and then the baby over here.
Correct.
So let's talk about your involvement as kids in the business. I mean, did your father, talk about the business at home? What was the thoughts about getting involved with the business? Or at that time, they had acquired some property at this time over the years?
They had acquired property over the years. I didn't know too much about brokerage. what my father did in deals that he made or leased to people or sold property to people. I did know about buildings he bought. He used to take us around on the island of some of the properties that they bought. Didn't mean anything at the time growing up, but it had a stamp on me later on.
We grew up in the TV image of a family that every night, whether we wanted to or not, where there were 6 of us around the dinner table, we had 3 courses, and discussion was what went on during the day. So whatever we picked up was what my father would talk about from that.
And our father used to repeat whatever was on the news and jokes that took place. He would repeat it at the dinner table of any of the radio stations on the way home or the way in that he can remember.
So you both attended public school in Great Neck,
Yes.
and then you both attended, we have a picture of the camp where you both attended camp where you were the counselor,
Right.
the CIT at
Correct.
that time.
That's why he came out the way
So
he did.
when you were, when you were growing up, you always knew you wanted to be a lawyer,
Yes.
correct? And you wanted to be a physician.
Correct. But I wasn't permitted to go into that direction. I was asked politely to go into the real estate field to do what my brother was doing his work on investment properties, and I was doing the management of the properties that they owned already, my father owned, plus the brokerage part of the business, and to expand that.
I remember, you talk about how our interest or the first memories of business, and I remember, I think I was in high school at the time, and I was working a little bit during the summer, or coming in to the office, and my father took me to the first closing that I had ever been at, and it was at Schaefer Brewery, and it was up in their tap room, and it was a very friendly closing, and they kept serving beer during the closing and peanuts. I said,
This was a brokerage deal.
yeah. I said,
As opposed
this sounds a great. This is a great business. We like this.
So how did you decide to go to Syracuse?
How did I decide to go to Syracuse? I don't even recall at the time. It was I had some friends that I had known that had gone there, and I went up there and I stayed for that and for law school, and played a little ball up there for a while, soccer, and Neil played. Neil was much better.
Okay, but Neil later on goes to a totally different market, okay?
Yeah.
He decides to go to Denver, to DU as we would call it.
Correct.
Okay, which is a great school. Ironically, has a great real estate program today, which they've
Correct.
done, and a great hockey program, but you were a soccer player.
Soccer player. We also had a great soccer team. We were top 10 every year.
So how do you decide to go to DU?
Well, I checked all the schools on the East Coast. I could have played soccer for any of those schools as well. And DU offered me an opportunity to play out in Denver. And I jumped at it. To be able to go west of the Mississippi.
So what happened? Why
was
why didn't you go into medicine? I
Direction.
mean, your brother was in medicine.
Right. My father, we had an attorney, we had a doctor, and they wanted me to do his
Okay.
business.
So essentially, it was predestined by your father and your late mother, okay,
Correct.
that the sons should go into the business. Now, we were saying that your father and his brother were in business, but it was not always the easiest of times, that generation. So you get involved with the business when you're 24, I think. You practice law for about a year and a half,
Right.
and then you get involved with the business. So let's talk about your initial involvement with the business.
I came in and started to do brokerage, and I had a more of a natural affinity for doing our own thing and for paving my own way as far as growing the business in a direction that I wanted to do it. And that meant expanding the type of opportunities that we were looking for, doing some initial building, which we never did before, and concentrating a lot on, at that point, Long Island, because I think when I came in, Brooklyn was just going through throes of being...
Right, but when you came in, I mean, the company being founded in 1904, okay, was known as a prominent broker of industrial properties and an owner predominantly of industrial properties.
Correct.
Right.
You took the business to different extremes over the years, okay, to different responsibilities. But when you were there, how was it working with the family?
At that time, my father was in partnership with his brother, as you mentioned, and the direction and the interplay between my father and my uncle became a bit contentious, and they divided the property, and I had my experience in arranging that division and overseeing a lot of it.
So when does Uncle
valuing
leave
it.
the business?
1968.
68.
Okay, so he leaves the business in 1968. You're a couple years out of law school at this time.
Correct.
And you're still in college.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, I was still in high school in 68.
Oh, right, that's right, the 8 years. Okay. How do you decide, because we knew he was predestined from the law, that you were going to go eventually into the business?
Just a direction. I was coming back east after graduation. I went to MBA at Syracuse as well. It was a family tradition. There have been 12 of us who have gone through Syracuse.
We have 12 oranges.
Over the course of the last...
60
Were you
years.
the first orange?
I was.
He was the first orange.
Okay, so you were the first one. Okay,
Yes.
there was no family ties to that before.
Nope. Now it's just sons and daughter-in-laws and a lot of family.
Speaking of that, how do you meet your wife?
At Syracuse.
And you, Neil?
At Syracuse, but also camp.
Going back to the initial camp that the
That
two of you
we
went
both-
to.
Yes, yes. I knew of her family. Her sisters were more my age. She was 3 years younger. Big difference in camp in those years. But she found me at Syracuse
So when do you join the company?
in 1975.
So you join, so it's 75. Your uncle's gone out of the business. Now it's the two brothers working with the father.
Correct.
Right. And your father continued to work until he passed on at the age of 91.
92.
92.
92, and he worked the day that he had his stroke and his heart attack.
So let's talk about how the business has grown since the two brothers, and then we're going to talk about the next generation.
Well, we've taken this business to what we believe is another level. We have expanded from just industrial, which we started with my father. We went to office buildings, where Cal was the first one to get involved with new construction on building of office buildings, renovating of office buildings. And I came in and I did more of the industrial buildings and the acquisitions. And it was a great mesh for us.
We went from just being in Brooklyn to 12 states, I think
Yep.
we had.
Yep. We were all-
Properties throughout from the
But many
far
people
west.
know Kalmon Dolgin as a leader in industrial. I mean,
Correct.
that's the reputation.
We never lost our niche. It is our niche. And we have,
Absolutely.
and we are continuing with that as of today and with the next generation. We're still doing majority of the industrial and commercial space in the Brooklyn, Queens, and Bronx area. And we're expanding that with our new direction from our kids that are in the business now, and with our new team of consultants who are directing us.
Now, your father, I would assume, wanted to stay local. Going to other states was
Yes.
not a easy decision for him.
Yeah.
The
you could say
terminology
that.
came, always was, I put a roof over your head. You're taking the roof off. You know,
That is very succinct, and yes. That's,
so he didn't want to leave what he knew. And what we picked up from him is that we're giving our kids the ability to do that.
So when you went to Philadelphia, was he alive?
Yeah.
no. Well, no, 2011. 2011.
No, he was
No,
not
he
alive.
was not.
Because
He
you
passed away in
expanded,
2005.
you've done major work in Philadelphia over the years.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then you were the owner of the Fauci building in Long Island City.
Yes.
Correct.
And you've seen the expansion of the Bushwick, Williamsburg
Yes.
neighborhoods over there.
Correct.
So now let's talk about the next generation of the business. Tell me about your son, who's the older son, also.
In, what was it, third grade or I think third grade. I gave you that little photo of an assignment he had in third grade. I think, what do you want to be when you grow up? He said, I want to be just like my daddy, and I want to go into real estate to help people. And Josh Dolgin, and he's done more than that. He's
Now, Josh went to Syracuse also?
he went to Syracuse, and he
Oh,
met his wife at Syracuse too.
When did he join the business?
In 1990, what was he? 25 years ago.
It's
25 years ago, I think.
48.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
25.
about 25 years ago at least. But one thing that my brother had referred to before, and that is when, learning from what my father had, how he acclimated us to the business. And one lesson that we've learned is that it's up to us to allow the next generation, and that this is a key to generational success, I think, and that is that you have to have the next generation have their own space. They have to be guided by what we have done, but at some point you have to step back and say, this is your direction. It's a new world.
now, so Josh has been at the company 25 years.
Yes.
Okay. And Grant, right?
Grant's been there now 12 years.
Okay. Grant went to Syracuse also?
Now, Grant went to Brandeis, but his wife went
But
to
his wife
Syracuse.
went to Syracuse.
Okay, fine.
Grant's-
So how long is Grant in the business?
12 years.
So he's in 12 years. We have two principals, and we have two other principals, okay?
Right.
So what's the roles of the two of you today, and what are the roles of your sons?
Well, we've given ourselves our own roles, what we do for the operation of the business. Our sons have found their own niche in management, where Grant does a lot of the management and brokerage, and Josh has done a lot of the management, and then also looking at new acquisitions as well, that he looks to analyze, and he deals with the banking industry. He knows that much better. We go to each other's strengths, and that's important. And the one thing, as I said before, where we learned from my father certain things and we took away certain things, we also took away not to do certain things. And we're giving the next generation the opportunity to direct the business the way they want to see it. And that's brought on the new consultants, the new direction we're taking.
So
and
what is the
it's
new
important.
direction? Where do you see the company in the next 10 years as we start the new
I think
the
that
roaring 20s, as
I
they
think
would
that that's
say.
an answer that Josh and Grant would be better able to answer. And I think it's evolving that we continue to do what we have done always and done fairly well, I think. But it has to be with a new twist, and it has to be something that they relate to. It has to be in their sweet spot.
Now, another thing that you mentioned when we got together is that I think it was your father and maybe involved with the Israeli War of Independence.
Correct.
Well, they've always been very involved, yeah. Yes.
But they at one of their places was, and it was in the book.
Yeah, I think the book was The Pledge, but we had they had converted one of the factories that they owned, so that the ground floor was a shipping area and the top floor was an assemblage area for munitions that were going to Israel, yeah.
Which is a continuation today of the family involvement with philanthropy.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes. That is one thing that we took away extremely positive, that we both feel an obligation and a pleasure in doing.
And how about the boys?
The boys also have their own direction. They feel involved as well. Their networking is important. Philanthropy is very important to them as well. And this is what we're trying to teach to them or bring to them.
So, you know, as I've said, I've done many shows, I've done a couple of families, and it's really nice to see a fourth generation working.
Correct.
And hopefully, you know, one day their families may grow to the fifth generation, and the Kalmon Dolgin organization is growing, and I'd like to thank you for being here with me today.
Thank
you very much.